So last week I wasn't able to upload chapter 1099 because, it was Thanksgiving, there was a bunch of stuff going on, and I just didn't have time to record it. So we're just gonna skip over that chapter. Nothing too crazy happened, so you don't gotta worry about that. It's just continuing on the Bonnie and the Kuma flashback, so there's nothing too much to worry about. So we're just gonna get right into it. This is One Piece chapter 1100 titled Thank You, Bonnie. So we're starting off immediately in the past where we see Egghead, and it's kind of what I believe Atlas mentioned. I think it was Atlas or Bonnie. I can't remember who, but they mentioned that it was a lot warmer than last time because, I guess it was snowing there and they made the artificial, island heater or whatever the hell they called it. And we see literally Egghead, and it's covered in snow. It looks like I can't recall the name right now, but it's where Frankie was sent. His past lab when he was growing up, Vegapunk. I'm pretty sure you guys know which one I'm talking about. It's where Frankie had the funny gag where he was acting like a gentleman. Anyways, we see Admiral Kizaru, and he's talking with Vegapunk, and Kizaru's like, "Man, I'm here on business, but like, whoo, it sure is cold here. This is a far cry from Punk Hazard." And Vegapunk's like, "You know what? Relax. This is gonna be the island of the future someday, so you just need to relax, alright?" He goes on and says, like, "I chose this place because there's so much shit going on in my head, and there's so much thinking and creativity and everything that I did just miss me. I didn't think about the snow and how fucking cold it is." So Kizaru's like, that explains it. You should have checked everything. Obviously the weather and then everything else before you moved in. He goes on and says, "Hey, making deals with pirates? That's not good, man." And he's like, alright, you got me, Borsalino. Now we cut away and we see Drake, a young Drake. X-Drake, you can see the X right here. He doesn't have that pirate looking hat thing he wears. And he's just kind of staring off into space. Now we see Vegapunk and his big ass head. Like, this shit is huge. He looks like Jimmy Neutron times 10. We see Vegapunk, we see Kuma, and we see Kizaru. And Kizaru's just like looking at stuff, he has his head down. We see a Den Den Mushi, and it's talking to everyone in the room. And I'll read it word by word. It says, "It's irrelevant if you consider him an ideal candidate, Vegapunk. This man is a pirate worth 296 million on his head. You can say you were ignorant of that or simply admit you don't care. But making a fugitive the face of our clone program is out of the question. It would be it would just be like, come on, man. Like, what the fuck are you doing?" He's like, making a fugitive the face of our clone program? That's just out of the question. What if you see like a serial killer on TV? Imagine this. You see like a serial killer and then they're like, "Yeah, but we're also going to have a brand new automated workers all around the world that are going to be able to help you. But we're going to use this serial killer as a clone." It's like, wait. I'm not going to get near that place, So whoever's talking is like, "Yeah, we're not doing that." He goes on and says, "With that in mind, we have 3 additional stipulations if you want to honor this deal of yours. Firstly, Kuma, you must agree to become one of the 7 warlords of the sea. A few days ago, we found ourselves a member short thanks to the exploits of a rookie named Ace. It caused great turbulence in the great pirate world. Someone of your caliber would be a natural choice to fill that opening and calm the seas." So it's cool that they mentioned that Ace kind of like fucked them up. I wonder who was the previous warlord though. Now this is really cool because they're mentioning that Ace took down a warlord and it was a rookie. So this is just like a year maybe after he left, Fuchsia Village, after he left Luffy, I assume. Our second condition is for you to undergo procedures to become a human weapon for the Navy. Kuma's like, "Wait, you want to modify my body?" This person goes on and says, "Precisely. You're already like the perfect, effective warlord. So you'll become a paragon of fear for pirate scum far and wide after you receive your enhancements." Kizaru goes on and says, "I second that. The Navy would love to have you on our side." And Vegapunk's like, "Can it, Kizaru?" And then the person says, "You see my point. But that's not all. You aren't like other pirates, Kuma. We are well aware of your history with the Revolutionary Army. If you accept our offer, we must take precautions to ensure you never turn your power against the world government again. Which brings us to our third and final condition. You must agree to give up your free will and sense of individuality. And we see Saint J. Garcia Saturn, who's been talking to them and like giving them all this stuff, which is kind of cool because we're seeing more of this guy's personality. And usually we would just see the Gorosei sitting down in a room, just like, twiddling their thumbs and being like, I wonder what the Celestial Dragons are going to do today. And then, the other guy's like, I think we're going to have a picnic, you know what I'm saying? But they don't do anything, so it's kind of interesting to see that they actually are involved in a lot of stuff. Which you would assume they are, but, since they're just sitting in a room every time we saw them, we couldn't expect anything else. Now, Vegapunk gets pissed off and says, he yells and says, Saint Saturn, that'd be the same shit as if we're killing him. This is because none of the other warlords follow orders, isn't it? If you snuff out all of the humanity left in a cyborg, you'll have nothing but a robot. Do you really expect me to murder a man? Now, I love that Vegapunk is just like, fuck you, dude. I'm not gonna do this shit. You really think I'm gonna get rid of this human being's life and his sense and everything? Like, fuck you, dude. And he says, you forget yourself. You're a military scientist, and you have no right to talk back. These conditions must be met if this criminal wishes to save his daughter. And you just see Kuma like this. It's a small price to pay considering how expensive and difficult this procedure would be otherwise. I have no obligation to help this girl. So basically, Vegapunk, he went to Vegapunk, and then Vegapunk's like, yo, I don't have the money. Let me talk to some people. Maybe he called the Gorosei and said, hey, I need some money because this and this and this. And, being Vegapunk, he's obviously a good guy. And Dragon was like, he'll never make a weapon that would purposely destroy lives and people. He's not that kind of guy. So, I assume he called them thinking, hey, let me borrow some money. And Gorosei would be like, yeah, we got you, brother. And they're like, hell nah, fuck you, dude. If you're going to do this, you're going to do it our way. So he's just pissed off and he's like, this is murder. It'd be perverse to modify a human like that. Perverse? Is there another meaning to alright, whatever. I won't. And then Kuma's like, Vegapunk, please do it. Kuma? And he's like, I've been worrying all this time thinking it might be impossible to save Bonnie. And Vegapunk's face is like, and Kuma's just crying and he's like, I'm so grateful. I'll happily accept any fate so long as Bonnie is cured. And Vegapunk is just like, holy Kuma. And we see Kizaru, and even Kizaru just like puts his hat on and he's like, oh shit. Even he realizes like, this is kind of fucked up. We cut and we see Bonnie and she's like running around the lab playing with Sentomaru, and Sentomaru's running after her like, hey, you're gonna knock shit over, like watch out. So then Saint Saturn goes on and says, hey, Vegapunk, how long is this gonna take you? To finish Kuma's modifications and cure his daughter. Now, this goes on even more deep into how Kuma was such a good guy. He just wants peace and all this crap. This isn't even his daughter. He gave up his sense of individuality and his free will, everything, his memories. He gave it all up to save a little girl that's not even his actual biological daughter. Now, this ties with the whole One Piece world because for some reason Oda just hates having real parents. So he gives everybody like a father figure and whatnot. Like Ace had a white beard. We see, someone like Garp. You could say Garp is like Luffy's father figure. There's also Nami and Nojiko and Belmir. Not biological, but, same thing. Zeph and Sanji. Not biological, but it's still very, very, like, everyone's just close together. And it doesn't matter whether it's blood or not. You're still family. This is the things that I love about One Piece. Like, it's just so good. Now, I don't understand why real parents aren't in the story. Like, Dragon and Usopp's dad are just, like, off running around somewhere. And they don't even care about their kids. Like, when Dragon saved Luffy in Logtown, like, he didn't walk up to Luffy and said, hi, I am your father, type shit. But he did save him from Smoker. He's like, hey, let that young man go. And then he looks at him and says, a pirate, huh? All right. And, I just love that. I just love that even though they don't have their real parents there, there's still someone out there looking after them. And it's the same thing in the real life, world. So Vegapunk's like, dealing with the Sapphire Scales will take in like 6 months, but it'll take an extra year after that before she can be exposed to light. That's a total about, a year and a half, something like that, before she's cured. Kuma's modifications will take 2 years at a minimum. And Kuma's just bawling his eyes out. He's like, oh my god, thank goodness. She really will be all better by the time she's 10. You remember, because of the promise? Saint Saturn goes on and says, how can we trust you to remain obedient, even if she's cured? Your daughter is our only leverage here. And he's like, I have no intention of running. He's like, be that as it may, the world government will have to take custody of her once her treatment is complete. She'll be free after you follow through with the erasure of your personality. Bro, this is why Bonnie thought Vegapunk wasn't, this is what we're seeing now is what Bonnie saw. So she thought Vegapunk was like, you fucking bastard, you turned my dad into a robot. But now she saw that the real culprit was Saint Saturn. That's why when she saw him, she did not hesitate, took a sword and just stabbed him right in the chest. Because she was like, fuck this guy. Now remember, he says, we'll let her go after you follow through with your erasure of your personality. So he's basically like, alright, we'll cure her, cool, but we won't let you see her until you're a robot. And Vegapunk is fucking steamed again, and he's like, but that would mean Kuma won't get to see Bonner after... Bonner. And Vegapunk gets pissed off, and he's like, that just means you don't want her to, see her dad. Like, that's fucked up, dude. And he's like, correct. His modifications will commence immediately. It'll be an ongoing process as he starts his tenure as a warlord and helps the government tame the seas. After his daughter is cured, any contact between them will be forbidden to ensure they don't escape. If there is any hint of defiance from any of you, I guarantee she will spend the rest of her life as a slave. I hope. Like, after this flashback is done, remember Luffy was fighting Kizaru, so he was on the floor like, I hope he gets up and just starts pounding and fucking him up like crazy, because, this guy's pissing me off. Kuma's face is like, ugh, because he's shocked. He's like, oh, shit. Even after hearing this, he's like, I won't try to see her, I swear. I only have one request, though. Don't tell Bonnie the truth. She can't know about her illness or that she's being kept as a hostage. I don't want her to wake up in some fucking surgery room in some soulless-ass government facility. Take her back to Sorbet. You can keep her in the church where she grew up. You can grant that one request, then I promise you I won't seek her out. And I'll obey without question. Now, this is all starting to tie back because remember, during Sabaody, before the time skip, he saved the Straw Hat crew. Kizaru was there too. Remember that. He saw when, Kuma set him offline, and when he walked up to, Rayleigh and was like, hey, trust me. I'm with the revolutionaries. I want to save Luffy and his crew. And Kizaru was like, what the fuck, dude? We could have got him. But I assume, knowing everything that went on with Kuma and knowing that Kuma's actually a really nice guy, Kizaru just like nodded it off and said, you know what? I don't know what's going on. Whatever. It makes no difference where she's kept, as long as the government oversees it. Looks like we have an interesting 2 years ahead of us. So this is all before the 2-year time skip. Remember, I think Luffy goes out to sea like next year or some shit. Wait, does he? I think so. So then Kuma goes back and is like, Bonnie, we'll be staying here for the next 6 months. And she's like, really? You're gonna stay with me? He's like, that's right. I think I'm sick too. So they gotta run some tests on me. And she's like, oh snap. That means we get to stay together. Yay! She goes and says, oh, this weirdo is Sentomaru. And he's like, dude, what the fuck? That's rude. She's like exploring and stuff, and she's like, wow, this place has so many windowless rooms. Yeah, but be careful. There's all sort of dangerous gadgets around here. Now, seeing her like this, acting all like, like a little girl and whatnot, and seeing her in 2 years and the way she acts currently with Luffy is so astonishing. Like, she grew up fast. Now, we see Vegapunk, and he's like writing shit down. He has like a bunch of papers all over the place, and he's like, that's it. I can create the weapon of my dreams now. Someone needs to write it down. Someone needs to write down everything I'm thinking. Damn it, the brain waves won't stop. He's like, if only they could eat and use the toilet for me too. I'd never have to stop. And then he's like, I'm so short-handed. It's maddening. Ah! I just had another eureka moment. And then he starts writing more shit down. And he's like, this is going to keep me as busy as ever. I wish there were 5 more of me. And he's like, writing down shit, and his head's, fucking on fire. Everything's on fire. He's like, ah! He looks like Oda when he's drawing. This is probably Oda referencing himself. Now we cut away and we see Kuma. And this is like that one panel where we see Kuma like this laying down. And we see Vegapunk behind him like this. And we didn't know who Vegapunk was at that time. But this is like that same panel. And then we see Bonnie, and we see them like operating on her and like checking her and a bunch of other stuff. And then we see Sentomaru, and Bonnie's riding on top of, Sentomaru's that bow thing they wear. I forgot the name of it. And he's like, get her off me! And Kuma's just like, hey! And then Bonnie walks up to Kuma and's like, look, I drew you! And she has like this cute ass drawing of her dad, and it says daddy on the bottom. And then we see some liquid. I'm not sure what this is. I don't know what this is, but maybe it's like the Sapphire Scale Cure. I don't know. It just looks sus. Next panel. And then a cargo ship arrives. And it seems like they're building, Egghead even more, because they brought in like a bunch of materials. And then we see Kuma, and he's carrying like a big, metal like tube or something. And Bonnie's on top, and she's like, hi! And all the people, like the workers, are like, hey, Bonnie! And then they're like, break time! We see Kizaru, we see Kuma, Sentomaru's there, Vegapunk's there, Bonnie's there. They're all having a great time. They're eating food. They're eating giant slices of pizza. Now they're all having a great time. So see, like, they all bonded a lot. And in the next panel, this is really, really, really interesting. We see Vegapunk, Kuma, Bonnie, Kizaru, Sentomaru, and everybody else in the back doing the Nika pose. And they're dancing to like the song that, Kuma's father taught him, the dun dun dun, the Nika drums. Wait a minute. Will Kizaru side with the Straw Hats at some point? Maybe that's why he didn't go all out against Luffy, because easily he was like holding back. I don't know, man. And remember, his justice on the back says unclear justice. So he's just like, whatever. He's so unpredictable. Oh shit, dude. This is huge. Holy crap. We cut away half a year later. Okay, the results are good. After a year of rehabilitation, you're cured! And Kuma's like, thank you, Vegapunk. She's like, yeah, thanks. Once I'm all better, can I come visit again? And he's like, of course. And we see Egghead in the back, and it's still getting built even more. We cut away to the kingdom of Sorbet. And we hear, Kumachi! Bonnie-chan! It's been so long! You're finally home for good? And we see Bonnie, and she's wearing like the overalls and the white shirt that she normally wears. And she's like, they said I'll be better in a year. Then I'll finally be able to go outside. And the old people that are always there are like, isn't that great news? That's fantastic. You always said you'd be as fit as a fiddle by the time you turn 10. And then Connie walks in and says, does this mean we'll be taking care of you again, Bonnie? And she's like, Granny Connie. He's like, we would be more than happy to take care of her, Kuma. You can count on us. And we see Granny Connie, Queen Dowager of the Sorbet Kingdom. And we see Kuma in his, that black and white outfit that he normally wears now. The bear hat, with the little Kuma ears sticking out. And he's like, thank you. I leave her in your hands. I'm still a pirate after all, so I can't stay. And, that also isn't good for the kingdom. I don't think I'll be back for at least another year. And she's like, what? That long? And Kuma's like, don't worry, I'll write you a ton of letters. And she's like, okay. And he like picks her up. And you can tell that she's wearing like the short shorts she wears. She's not wearing those stocking things she wears. But she's wearing the outfit she normally wears. This is where it's a little sad, because then Bonnie goes on and says, the next time I see you, we'll both be able to sail the seas and reach the horizon. And he's like, I can't wait. I want to travel to all sorts of places together. I'd love to take you. And then he thinks in his head, I really would have loved that. Now this girl walks in with like two medical guys in the back. And I'm not gonna lie. So it says here, please leave the rest to us, Kuma-san. And they're like, who's that? And it says Cipher Poll number 8, Intelligence Agent Alpha. And then it says translator note, a direct, change of name would be Alpha, Alufa instead of Alpha, like alfalfa. And she looks exactly like Khalifa. Alufa? Is this Khalifa? No, she was Cipher Poll 9. I don't know, this looks a lot like Khalifa to me. I feel like this is Khalifa. Right? I can't be the only one that thinks this is Khalifa. Just going under a different name of Alufa. Whatever. Anyway, she goes on and says, I'm a nurse. The doctor ordered me to take care of you, Bonnie-chan, during her recovery. I'll check her temperature daily, make sure she takes her medicine, and monitor for any changes. My name is Alpha. Nice to meet you, Bonnie-chan. And Bonnie's like, who are you? Her face is just like, what the fuck? No suspicious individuals be allowed near her during recovery. Please remember to bring identification with you if you plan on visiting. That's such a pain! And what's that building you're putting up in front of the church? Those are for our accommodations. And then she pulls like this like bread or something. And she looks at Kuma and is like, and she crushes it. She's like, don't forget, a child's life is such a fragile thing. No, this has to be Khalifa. And he's like, I understand. I'm not coming back. Kuma walks up, pats Bonnie on the head, and says, thank you, Bonnie. And Bonnie's like, huh? And he's like, I'm really glad you were born. With a big smile on his face. And she's like, really? She's like giggling and shit. We see Kuma, and he's finally taking off. And they're all yelling, take care! Now we get the narrator. The pirates of the world were utterly shocked when the infamous tyrant, Bartholomew Kuma, suddenly became an absolutely obedient member of the 7 warlords. Young master, there's a new warlord. Huh? And he turns around and we see Dofi. And he's like, Kuma the tyrant? Sounds like another villain has come into play. And then he like laughs and sticks his tongue out. We cut away and we see Robin with, with Baroque Works. And she's like, what do you think? And he's like, I couldn't care less. Have you taken care of those idiots who spotted our rainmaking ship yet? Translator note, this is referencing the hidden ship from chapter 212. We see Dracula Mihawk, and there's a bunch of ships in the background burning, like, oh, of course they are. And we see little Kando on his little coffin ship, and he's just like, And maybe this is because of Kobe, I don't know, maybe because of Kobe, I don't know, but she's like, he looks as big as Whitebeard. Kobe, who do you reckon is stronger, me or him? You, of course, Alvida-sama. You're the strongest and most beautiful. We cut away and we see Ace, and he's like, so they finally found the replacement. That's great news, Jinbei. Jinbei goes on and says, considering the circumstances, you're the last person I'd expect to say that. And we see Blackbeard, Marco, and Whitebeard there. And Blackbeard's like, I'm still reading the details about him. Zihahaha, And then we see Boa, and she's looking fine as shit, like always. And she goes on and says, their business doesn't affect us. I follow no man's orders. And then we see Granny Neon in the back, and she's like, Princess, it's essential that you keep track of information like this. And then we see this annoying mother, and he's like, Kishi, and then he's like, they say he's a pawpaw man. That doesn't sound exactly frightening, does it? And then we see Perona, and she's just like flying around. And this angle that Oda chose is so good. The way that Perona is flying around, he has the ghost around her. And she's like, well, he's already a warlord, so he's got to be strong enough to make the cut, Moria-sama. We see Dragon, and he doesn't say anything. He's just like, huh. Sabo's grown up, and he's like, don't the warlords answer directly to the government? We also see Koala and Hack. And she's like, Kuma-san would never work for them. What the hell? Now we get a handwritten letter from Kuma. Dear Bonnie, I'm still at sea as I write this. I've become quite well known and it's getting harder and harder to sell in peace. But I'm doing alright. I'm doing my best to find interesting travel destinations for when you turn 10. I hope everyone back home is doing as well as I am. We hear, Bartholomew Kuma, come in. You have new commands from the government. What is your current location? I'm in the East Blue. What are your orders? And we see Luffy, and he's running around, laughing, and he's like, uh-oh, I made him mad. And there's a tiger running after him. We see Fuchsia Village in the back. End of chapter. No break next week. Let's go, guys. I hope I upload this, by Saturday. Maybe you're watching this on a Friday or a Saturday. I don't know what day I'm going to upload this. But anyways, I hope you enjoy this video. Look forward to the next one because it's going to be amazing. And I'll catch you guys next time. I'll see you. Peace out.